Guys, welcome to today's video. Today's video, we are going to discuss how can we use the power of Rahu and Ketu to thrive in our life and to be successful in every aspect of our life. So now, Rahu and Ketu, they are shadow planets. They're also known as North Node and South Node in Western astrology. So what we need to understand is that Rahu and Ketu, they show really karmic positions in our birth chart. And if we are not aware of their position and the relevance of their placements, then we can go about life being a little bit lost. Okay, and I'm going to explain that to you in a minute. So Rahu and Ketu, they have our relevance on what is it that we want to do in our life. If we understand the Rahu and Ketu, then we can have a clearer understanding on our path of life instead of being lost in what comes to us. So Ketu, it shows what we have mastered in our past life. So the position of Ketu in our birth chart will show what is it that we have already done in our past life, and that will come very easy to us in this lifetime, and especially in the initial 20 to 30 years of our life, we will inevitably be doing those kinds of things. Rahu, on the other hand, it shows what is our soul calling. But these are things that we have not yet fulfilled in any of our past lives, and that's why it will be very tough for us to do it. Right now, here is the catch point, because Rahu and Ketu, they can show you these characteristics, these traits of your personalities that may come easy to you, but you need to let go of. But sometimes a society might tell you something to the contrary. Like, for instance, if there is a person who has a Ketu in the 11th house, it may come very easy for them to be part of the society, to think of the group as a whole. And these are things which are inculcated by the society, right? Because they're for the good of all. But if the person's placement is in the Rahu in the 5th house, then that means actually they need to develop their individual hobbies, they need to develop their individual value system, right? And so sometimes I feel if we're so unaware about our Rahu and Ketu placements, then we can, live a life that is not true to us. It will make sense to people, but it will not be true to us. Now, if you want to understand what is the position of Rahu and Ketu in your birth chart, you first need to compute your birth chart using your birth details, which will be your birth city, your birth time, your name. And once you compute your astrological chart, then you have to see the house and the sign in which Rahu and Ketu are placed. Once you have seen these placements, then you can skip to the timestamps in this video for your relevant positions. Okay, so now we are going to start with Rahu in the 1st house and Ketu in the 7th house. So now Rahu in the 1st house and Ketu in the 7th means 7th house shows us the other people, the relationships that we engage in. Okay, and Ketu here shows that you have already mastered this position in life. It also corresponds to Rahu in Aries and Ketu in Libra. Okay, and so in the initial part of your life, you might be really interested in being with others. You think as if your status in society or your achievement of dreams or even your sense of self is almost as if dependent on your relationship with others, right? And it may come easy to you in the initial 20 to 30 years. But then this thing can actually lead you to people please because you have not developed a sense of self that is your own. And that is what Rahu in the 1st house talks about. So 1st house is the house of your ego, your self identity. How do you show up in the world? Okay, that is how you relate to yourself in the world. And Rahu here shows that you're completely unaware of it. right? Because Rahu, it does not know it. Rahu is, is not clear. Wherever Rahu is, it shows that there is some sort of an eclipse on your vision there. And so you are not sure as to what is your own identity if the other people, their belief system, their likes, dislikes is removed. And so in this lifetime, you need to focus on developing your identity in the world. Who are you when you are not with others? Okay. And to not people please, it's okay to be, even if that means being alone, and that's okay. And if you have these positions, you'll see that later on in the life you'll start to have real issues in your relationships. All the relationships you'll have, they can involve a lot of betrayals, and oftentimes that's happening only to make you focus on your own self, so that you realize that you, this love that you give to others, this value that you place in others, you can find that in yourself. Okay, so if you have this placement, it's really important to now start shifting your focus from other people to yourself. So now, if Rahu is in second house in your birth chart and Ketu is in in eighth house, so then that will correspond to Rahu in Taurus and Ketu in Scorpio. So now, in this scenario, if you see the eighth house, it talks about other people's money, shared resources in a marriage, insurance, inheritances, right? And the second house talks about your own money. So in this situation, you have already been dealing with other people's money in the past life. So you have somehow mastered that thing. That aspect of your life will come easy to you. So, how to be in a marriage, maybe you derive your sense of self from your marriage, or you know how to earn money only through other people's resources. But if you see in this lifetime, Rahu is placed in the second house, and the second house talks about your own value system, your finances. What is it that you want to do in life? What is it that you value? It also shows our face, it also shows our food. And so you'll see that it also shows our speech. So in this scenario, you'll see that Rahu is going to force you and is going to put you into situations where you can no longer rely on other people's money for your finances. And if now see, this is the dance of Rahu and Ketu. If you are not careful of it, if you're not aware of it, you're going to be in situations in relationships or in financial or career or personal relationships where you'll just be struggling when it comes to money. And this is going to force you, it's going to come easy to you, you're going to feel as if that's the only way you can make money, but it is going to force you to make your own money, to find your own path in life, to form your own value system. And even if that's really different from your family lineage, even if that is something that your friends don't approve of, or sometimes it involves leaving everything behind and forming a career of your own. And that can be challenging, especially if you're unaware of what is it that Rahu is trying you to do. You may feel, oh my god, is life against me? But that's why it's so important to understand the placement of Rahu and Ketu in our life, right? Now, you have Rahu in the third house and Ketu in the ninth house. Now, this will correspond to Rahu in Gemini, in Ketu in Sagittarius. Now, in this situation, ninth house, it reflects your long-term philosophy in life, higher education, father, research. And so you see that in this lifetime, you might have a tendency to rely on the philosophies that have already been taught to you by your family system. And you may also have a tendency to engage in a lot of research. Like if you have to start a new work, instead of doing, you have a tendency to stay in the research zone. Okay. And ninth house is also a more philosophical house, so this is a house where you may get a little bit lost in the philosophies of life, and what is good and what is bad. which is the ninth house. It might come easy to you. It might be the house where you feel comfortable. But if you only stay there, either you are going to feel really lost in life as if something's missing, or life is going to throw situations at you where you'll have to start moving towards your Rahu, your third house, okay, or both. And now, what is third house? Third house, it is the house of our brothers and sisters. It is the house of our courage. It is the house of doing things by our hands, right? The skills that we can do with our own hands. And it is the house of short-term travel as well. And so, what you'll see is that in this lifetime, you're going to be pushed to actually develop skills, to actually to see a more realistic tendency of life, like, to master these real life skills, because the philosophy of life you've already mastered, that will come easy to you. But what does it take to actually do things on the day-to-day basis, right? To develop some things with your hands, to come down from your crown chakra and to come out of your thinking tendencies and to start actually doing things. And now that may need courage, because your house is the house of courage, and Rahu here will show that you have not really mastered the courage that it takes. Now, it can be, the courage can be to let go of the reputation that comes with, being attached to society, or maybe just by doing a lot of academic success, because ninth house is the house of higher education. So maybe you have to let that go in some way and develop the skills of your third house, okay, where you are now ready to do things with your own hands, to have that courage. Third house also shows our social media, websites, anything that's online. So you might develop a skill that tells you to connect with the world in this way. And generally, people who have Rahu in third house, they can also develop some special skills of hands, like it can be like a tarot reading, or it could be like making magic with hands, or like something special that you do with your hands and that requires some courage. And this is also an interesting placement when it comes to your brothers and sisters, especially your younger siblings. And so you might need to work on that relationship, that may need you to. And with Rahu and Ketu, as I say, it's always a dance. So if you want to improve your Rahu, you have to use your Ketu, and once you improve your Rahu, your Ketu improves. So what I mean by that is, you might need to use your philosophies, your research, your developed spiritual thoughts in some way to actually accomplish everything that the third house needs you to do. And when you're able to do this dance, when you're able to bring this balance of the ninth house into the third house, that's when you'll feel fulfilled. Okay. Now, if you have Rahu in the fourth house and Ketu in the 10th house, now this can also relate to Rahu in Cancer and Ketu in Capricorn. So now, 10th house is the house of our reputation in the world. Okay, it also shows our authority figures. It shows the reputation that we're going to earn in the society. And it is a house that shows our career, and the success that we're going to achieve in our career. Okay, and Ketu here, it shows you have to let go at least of the general normalized idea of a career. What I mean by that is that either you will let go of the career in totality, like you don't want to focus on your 10th house accomplishments, they don't really mean to you, they become really easy to you. But if you only engage in 10th house pursuits, you don't feel uh, good about yourself. Or it can also bring about a spiritual kind of career for you, because 10th house shows our career, and Ketu, it shows us spirituality, it shows enlightenment, it shows our epiphanies that we can have in life and that completely transform us. So it can happen if you have this placement that you suddenly have in the later part of your life, you start having these epiphanies in life that the work that you're currently doing, it doesn't fulfill you, and you need a more spiritual aspect to the work that you're doing. Okay, and this Ketu is requiring you to move towards your Rahu in fourth house. Now, Rahu in fourth house can be a little bit challenging this situation, especially in the earlier years of life, because now fourth house is the house of our nurturing. That is the house of our mother. That is the house of what feels like home, what we value, what we consider as almost one of the pillars of our existence, right? Because fourth house is one of our pillars, and Rahu here, it can show that maybe there were some challenges with respect to your mother when you were growing up. Maybe she wasn't really present, or because of some reason you were not really able to tap into that nurturing energy here. Rahu can also mean that maybe you'll have a mother of a different culture, of a different religion, because Rahu shows foreign objects, foreign items, of foreign ethnicity. So there can be something unusual about your mother, or about your home environment when you were growing up. But this Rahu here, it shows that there was something sort of missing, where you feel that the nurturing in you was not really complete. And here, Rahu in fourth house, it is somehow asking you to work on that. Now, it can be sometimes that if you work on your self love, then you show up as a better person. And as I say, Rahu and Ketu is a dance. So now, once you work on your self love, once you go on that spiritual awakening journey, you can actually do this 10th house Ketu spiritual career, right? And vice versa, if you're able to develop your spirituality for your career of Ketu 10th house, and it flows into your Rahu 4th house, your situations in the home start to improve. In this scenario, working from home is also something that a lot of people start to do, and they like it. They like to work from home. They somehow find it very balancing, because otherwise, if you're not aware, this position can feel a little bit challenging, because it is a little bit tricky situation. Okay, so now if we have Rahu in the fifth house and Ketu in the 11th house, this will also correspond to Rahu in Leo and Ketu in Aquarius. So now, if you see Aquarius or 11th house, these are the house of the people at large. Okay, these are the house of big organizations, your long term desires. And so, if Ketu is present here, you might have initially a tendency in the initial 20 to 30 years of your life to people please, right? It will come very easy for you to merge with the people, to do what is right for the whole group, to think of the whole group of society, group of people that you hang out with. But in this lifetime, you are being encouraged to move away from your Ketu towards your fifth house. Fifth house is the house of our creativity. It's also the house of children, of romance, anything that lights you up, right? Fifth house is also the house of Vedic knowledge. And so if you see Rahu is placed here, you are being guided to develop an individual identity, that is separate from the group identity, right? What are your individual hobbies? What is it that lights you up? Even if no one in your group or circle or social circle does that, right? And sometimes, what happens, the challenge that can happen in this kind of a thing is that it's really proclaimed by the society that you should only try to fit in, you should be liked by all, you should be loved by all. And in this situation, in this Rahu fifth house and Ketu 11th house, you might have to really look, does that suit you? Does me pleasing people suit anyone? Like, no. You working on yourself, on the things that light you up, and people working on the things that light them up actually creates a more fulfilling result for everyone. And so that might be the initial tussle that you go on in your life, but towards the later part of your life, you start to develop your own hobbies, your skills. It may also show some challenges when it comes to having children, since Rahu delays. So this is also a good thing to keep in mind, because if you have a placement here and you know, okay, the kids are going to be a little delayed, you're not going to be demotivated, right? Maybe the initial part of your life is to focus on your inner child, right? What is your inner child wanting that has been subdued by the wants of people for so long, and you initially take time to nurture your inner child. And once you have nurtured your inner child, you're actually more ready to have kids and to nurture them, right? And that's why knowledge of the placements of Rahu and Ketu is actually so important. If you have Rahu in sixth house and Ketu in 12th house, this can also correspond to Rahu in um, Virgo and Ketu in Pisces. So now in this situation, if you see Pisces, the 12th house, they all talk about spirituality, bed pleasures, hidden expenses, foreign travel. And here, if you have Ketu, there is a tendency for the individual to be really into spirituality, right? Because the spirituality has come easy to you, or to be lost in your thoughts, lost in these wishful thinking, which is also Pisces, wearing those rose colored glasses. And you can be somehow lost in that world, right? Whenever you have problems, you revert to your dreamland. But in this scenario, if you see this situation, this placement of Rahu and Ketu in your birth chart is pushing you to focus on your Rahu in sixth house. And what is Rahu in sixth house? Sixth house shows our daily routines. It shows our service to people. It shows our pets. It shows our legal challenges, debts. It also shows our previous lifetime debt, prarabdha karma. Okay, so sixth house Rahu placement shows that now is the time for you to start focusing on your daily routine. Okay, you has to be really clear. Okay, this is how I want to achieve the best routine, this is how I'm achieving the health, because this placement otherwise can give you hidden illnesses or hidden debts, legal challenges, something that forces you to now start taking care of your routine, of your health, of how you are serving to people, right? Because if you see the how Ketu in 12th house is pushing us to serve people, if you have that level of spirituality, how can I use it to help people? And this can also sometimes lead to people who are humanitarians, people who are really nature enthusiasts, you know, who fight for the nature on earth and the betterment of nature, those causes. So that will be your drive, and you would want to help people, the nature, planet in some way. And if you don't do that, of course, you're going to be pushed. Either you're going to feel something missing, or there are going to be challenges that push you towards this. This placement can also lead to some sort of hidden illnesses, because a sixth house is the house of hidden illnesses. Rahu itself is the planet of illusion. Wherever Rahu is, it creates some sort of an eclipse on the vision that you have with respect to that house. And so it's, again, you have to be really good when it comes to your health, when it comes to your exercise, diet, routine, because otherwise it can lead to some challenges, right? And but if you are aware of this placement, then of course you can take the maximum benefit. This is actually helping you, it's helping you in fulfilling your soul purpose here, because you know, if you have a stronger body, that is when you can serve the people better, right? And so these positions, they are not supposed to scare you. These positions are actually assisting you in creating a more fulfilling life. It's when we don't understand them, or we're totally unaware of them, that is when these issues start getting created in our life. And that is only not to scare us, but only so that we can start moving towards our most fulfilling life. Okay, so now if we have Rahu in seventh house and Ketu in first house, now this will correspond to Rahu in Libra and Ketu in Aries. Now I have seen that in in this scenario, it can be quite tricky, especially in today's world where we really push self-love and self-focus and being independent. Uh, and to a person who has Ketu in first and Rahu in seventh, I've seen that this comes very easy to them. And there is a real tendency for people to get lost in this scenario. They'll feel, oh, yes, I am independent. That is what is being pushed by the society. I can be totally happy on my own, only focus on myself and self love era. But in reality, in this lifetime, they are being pushed to work on their Rahu, which is seventh house. They really do not know how to have relationships with other people. And I feel it's a little amusing because in today's scenario, the self-love era is so pushed that if you're unaware of this placement and the relevance of its placement, you can get really lost in this social media messaging, right? And so in this lifetime, you have to move towards your Rahu, which is the seventh house, which is the relationships. What is your relationship with people, whether it comes to your marriage or personal romantic relationships, or it comes to your relationships in career. And you will find the maximum success when you start having your relationships in order, when you start developing these skills, when you do a business in partnership with someone else, when you start focusing on your relationships, whether that's romantic or personal. And another thing I've really seen with this placement is Rahu in seventh house people, they really want relationships. It's like a soul desire because Rahu, wherever it is placed, it creates this strong urge in you for you to have that thing, but you do not have the skills to have that thing. And so Rahu in seventh house people, they have to be quite aware of it, because seventh house Rahu placement can also lead to betrayals in relationship. It can initially bring deceptive relationships, because Rahu shows deception. It's illusion. It's something that completely enchants you, but it's all smoke, right? And so it will require you to do a lot of moving back to your first house, right? Rahu and Ketu is a dance. So it will require you to be really clear on your identity, on your first house. What is it that you value? What is it that you stand for? What are your likes, dislikes? What is your shadow side like? Because if you do not tap into this, you are going to continue to attract some sort of a deception in the form of your relationships or dealings with people. And the way to handle that is to strengthen your Ketu first house. Right. So that is the important thing to understand. I have seen in Rahu and Ketu. It's a dance. If you want to improve your Ketu, move to your Rahu. If you want to improve your Rahu, move to your Ketu. Right? Okay. So now if you have Rahu in second house and Rahu in eighth house and Ketu in second house. So now this will correspond to Rahu in Scorpio and Ketu in Taurus. Now, in this situation, if you see, now this is a complete opposite of what we discussed earlier of Rahu in second and Ketu in eighth, right? So Ketu in second now will show that it is easy for you to make your own wealth. It comes easy to you. Your individual value system, what is it that you value, what is it that you like, that comes easy to you. But now, wherever Ketu sits, it separates. It doesn't deny, but it separates. It creates some sort of a separate, some sort of a detachment. And so, in this scenario, I've also seen that Ketu in second house people, in the later part of their life, they tend to be separate from their family, or some sort of detachment gets created. Either they go far away from their family, or they're not in good situation with their family, but some sort of detachment gets created. And now this is requiring you to move towards your Rahu in eighth house. Now eighth house, as we discussed, talks about shared resources. It talks about other people's money, insurance, inheritances. And so now this, it also talks about your marriage, or the, it talks about Rahu in eighth house. It talks about how to learn to nurture Now, these situations, how to nurture your relationships with other people's money, now because you have no idea how to do that, but you will always be put into situations where you will need it, right? Where you cannot just rely on your own earned money. You need other people's money. It shows your spouse's money. It shows you may need to borrow from banks or institutions. Uh, but those are the kind of skills now that you have to develop. Like sometimes you see people with these placements, they have like a really big business and now they have to make their company public. They have to deal with other people's money, and now that they might find really tough because they are only used to being the one man show. They only want to be the only authority in their enterprise, but now the situation requires them to answer to a lot of stakeholders, and something that they really do not know how to do. And it's a skill that they have to develop in this lifetime. Okay. Okay. Eighth house also shows occult. So whenever you have a placement of Rahu or Ketu in these in the eighth house, it's a very spiritual house. It's a house of spiritual transformation, occult, everything that's hidden. So when we have a placement of Rahu here, these people can also sometimes be spiritual warriors. People who help others have the spiritual transformation, so they had to overgo spiritual transformation themselves, and that's why they are able to help others in being a spiritual leader, and show how to transform their life, right? Rahu in eighth also requires you to be a little bit cautious of any sudden accidents in life. So if you have a Ketu in eighth, you're really protected from any kind of issues in life. From if you have any accident, you're protected. And now when you have Rahu in eighth, it may require you to be really careful of uh, any sudden accidents in life. And generally they say you have to keep your Rahu in control, which is don't involve in any sort of deception with people. Be really try to overcome the tendencies of Rahu in your dealings with people, and then that will give you the effects of good Rahu. Right. So now if you have Ketu in third and Rahu in ninth, so Ketu in third will correspond to Ketu in Gemini, and Rahu in ninth will correspond to Rahu in Sagittarius. Now, in this scenario, if you see, third house is the house of our courage, things that we do with our hands. It's also one of the Pacha houses, so it gets better with time. And it is the house of our communication, social media, brothers and sisters. So now Ketu here, it generally shows as if uh, what I've seen is that it somehow presents people who are almost like martial arts, who are into martial arts, who do, because if you see, Ketu is also a warrior. Ketu shows knives and dealing with tools and weapons, and so this placement, it oftentimes I've seen it shows people who are some sort of a wrestler or a martial arts a person who do things of courage with their hands, right? Or it can show someone who is brought into the fame, to whom in the early parts of life, so the fame came really easy to them, or like child artists, so fame came really quickly to them. And now we have moving towards Rahu ninth house. Ninth house is more spiritual, and this I have seen that sometimes you'll see a person, he was like a wrestler in the initial part of his life, and then when the Rahu effect starts pouring into his life, you'll see that the person starts becoming becoming a spiritual leader, an astrologer, a tarot reader, right? So this dance of Rahu and Ketu requires you to work on your ninth house, which is the highest house of your spirituality, your higher education, father, and it somehow there is a focus on learning, philosophy of life, like what is it all for? What is it that I'm trying to achieve? And it really starts to fulfill these people in some way. And you'll see that once they start working on their ninth house Rahu, that's where their third house Ketu also improves. So their relationship with their siblings start to improve, how they show up in the media, if they were engaging in anything dangerous with hands, they tend to subdue it, right? And so this placement, it requires you to start being in the mind mode, to be more mindful of all that you do in your life with your hands, with your speech. How do you relate to people? And you start to have a more fatherly, a more spiritual, blessed, a very divine sort of way to deal with people, and to show yourself as, right? And then Rahu in 10th house and Ketu in the 4th house. So Ketu in 4th and Rahu in 10th is actually a very good position for career. I've seen these people tend to do really good in career, because if you see 10th house is the house of career, reputation, authorities, the success that we get because of our career. And so I've seen that Rahu in 10th, because it's a very natural environment. Rahu is a very, go for it, very ambitious, never satisfied planet. And so in this situation, people tend to go all in their career. Like that's the only thing that matters to them. Their happiness starts getting defined by their career. And Ketu in 4th house, Ketu, which shows some sort of a detachment. So they often develop some sort of a detachment from the 4th house, which is the house of your nurturing, which is the house of your mother. And so they often can feel some sort of a void there. There's an emotional void almost that is present, because and the way they try to heal this emotional void, or to rather run away from this emotional void, is just by focusing on their career. And although this placement can give a lot of success in the career, I think this placement also pushes us to start looking at this wound. If you want to be more successful, Rahu and Ketu is it done. So if you want to be more successful in your Rahu 10th house, you need to start nurturing your Ketu 4th house, and maybe you need a more spiritual approach when you're dealing with your home, with your mother, with your family matters. Sometimes things are not perfect, but having a spiritual approach to things, it can help you fulfill your void. Like if you listen to the story of Tony Robbins, right? He did not have the most uh, nurturing mom or the growing up conditions, but he transformed that. He got a spiritual approach to that, and he transformed all of that into doing good for the society, and that has given him so much fame and reputation, right? So that is something of sort that the situation requires you to do. Now if you have Ketu in 5th and Rahu in 11th, now, in this scenario, fifth house talks about our creativity, our children, our ancestral knowledge, knowledge of the Vedas, and also creativity, romance, anything that lights us up. Okay, and so Ketu here can show that this may come very easy. A tendency for us to focus only on our hobbies, our interests. It may come very easy to us, but in this life we are being pushed to work on our Rahu 11th house, right? That we get our maximum fulfillment and attainment of our desires by focusing on the large group of people. What is it that people need? How is it that I can serve the people? And you might somehow have some sort of a message that you want to give to the people, because this will correspond to Rahu in Aquarius and Ketu in Leo. So if you see, Leo is a very individual planet. Leo is a planet that wants all the attention on itself. Leo is a king. But if you move towards Aquarius, Aquarius is a sign of the people, right? So you might almost feel as if there is something in which, in a way in which you want to serve people. and that's where you'll find the most fulfillment, uh, doing things on your own and for you, and getting all of that attention for yourself may feel really good in the initial parts of your life, but then towards the later part of your life, you'll start feeling an inkling like, what is all of this for? As if you need to serve the society. You have a message. There's a way you want to transform the people around you or to the larger group. Because Aquarius also talks about innovation, technology. You may want to develop some sort of technology for people, because Rahu and Aquarius can really show like um really out of the world and never seen before technology improvements, and you may want to really do that instead of just focusing on getting accolades from people, right? And now if you have Ketu in sixth house and Rahu in 12th, so this means Ketu in Virgo and Rahu in Pisces. Now in this situation, you'll see that Pisces, it talks about the foreign land. It talks about the bed pleasures, spirituality, dreamland. Okay, and Ketu in sixth house talks about our day-to-day routine, how we serve the people, our health, deaths, hidden illnesses. And so we see that in this position, you can have a real some sort of an issue going on in your sixth house, because of which you start focusing more on your 12th house, which is like either you start moving to a foreign land, you find more success there, or you this position can also produce some sort of astronauts, right? Because what is astronomy? That is going to literally somewhere far away, right? So this can show as if you have a lot of interest to move away from where you were born, and you start to have very unusual experiences there that almost seems to be your life calling, to explore different religion other than what you were born in, and you will start to have a more affinity towards these things. Uh, of course, with these placements, you have to be a little bit careful to not be too much in your mind. This tendency can create some, mental troubles if you're not rooted. So, grounding yourself is a really good practice. If you have a placement like that, ground yourself every day by, being in the nature, by doing meditations, and also being in spirituality. That really helps with the situation, because it helps you uh, understand what is real and what is something that I'm just making up in my mind. So in this placement, you also have to somehow take a spiritual approach to your everyday routine, to the legal troubles, to your illnesses. So, engaging in a lot of meditation, having some sort of a meditative routine, that can be really helpful in the situation. That will help you ground as well. So it will help you in balancing your Rahu 12th house, and will also help you in overcoming any health problems that may occur. That's one thing. Second is also, since Ketu always creates some sort of detachment, you may not feel any sort of attachment to your normal day-to-day service. The day-to-day life may seem really boring to you, and so in this situation, tapping into your 12th house Rahu, which is either move away from where you were born, so tapping into Rahu of 12th house foreign places, or start engaging in very out of the world technology, video games and AI and simulations. That is also something that people with these placements find really interesting. But the important thing is to ensure that balance, right? Because the thing with Rahu and Ketu is, if you get too lost in either Rahu or Ketu, that will create this harmony in your life. Okay. So we in all of these placements, you have to be really careful that you don't engage too much in your Ketu. That will come too easy for you, or Rahu, because Rahu can be obsessive. It can create an unsatisfying obsession in your life in whichever house it is placed, that we've already discussed. And so You have to strive in this life to maintain a balance between the positions signified by your Rahu and Ketu in order to have a fulfilling life, in order to have a life that is more aligned with your soul path, and it gives you the maximum benefit, fulfillment, happiness, right? So that's my analysis of your Rahu and Ketu placements, and hope this helps. See you in my next video.